looking forward to it. It is a deep honor, a great honor. It is, I think it is the third time that I would be a torchbearer, but doing it for the first time in foreign land. So it will be special. And a Neeraj Chopra of Tokyo will be any different from a Neeraj Chopra of Paris. Change is the only constant in life, and to keep adapting to it. We have had the whole unfortunate case with our wrestlers, and this is something that we must give priority as we move forward. Most importantly, it has to be a victim-centric approach which has to be taken.
Hello and welcome to Table Talk. I am Jyotsna. As we count down to the Olympics, it is time to turn back the pages. Neeraj Chopra defends his Olympic gold at Paris, but he was only the second of two individual gold medalists that India has produced. Joining me on the show today is Abhinav Bindra, who in 2008 at Beijing made history by winning gold in the 10-meter air rifle. He joins me today to speak about India at Paris, about giving back to sport, about retirement, and his dogs. Abhinav, thanks very much for doing this. It's that time of the year, in 4 years. Do you feel kind of nostalgic?
No, I don't feel nostalgic at all because my playing days are long over, but I'm definitely very excited. I think the Paris Olympic 2024 Olympic Games are going to be spectacular. I think they're the first Olympic Games, the true Olympic Games after the COVID period. We did have Tokyo and Beijing in the Winter Games and a year Youth Games, but they were kind of under special circumstances. But it is probably the first time the world is truly coming together post the pandemic. So it's going to be exciting. I think the Paris Games holds a lot of promise because I think these are the first games which are under the new reform process of the Olympic movement, which is Agenda 2020. Urbanization of the Olympic Games, the youthfulness of the Olympic Games, new sports coming into the Olympic Games. An exciting time for sport. But more than anything, it is what is really interesting and what is really nice is it is the first time the world is truly going to be coming together after a long period of time. We live in uncertain times. We live in a world which is volatile, and the Olympic Games will, I think, leave a very powerful message to the world that it is possible to compete fiercely yet peacefully. And I'm really looking forward for the Olympic Games to be, of course, a spectacle of sport, but also to send a message to the world which hopefully inspires the world.
You're also a torchbearer at the Games. How do you feel about that?
I'm looking forward to it. It is a deep honor, a great honor. It is, I think it is the third time that I would be a torchbearer, but doing it for the first time in foreign land. So it will be special, and just the whole history of the Olympics, the history of the torch relay, the lighting of the flame, which starts in ancient Olympia. I had the pleasure of being there earlier this year, so got to see firsthand where everything really originated. It is a very great honor, and I'm
Billion plus people are soon going to shift their focus from cricket, to Olympics once they're finished with the celebrations and all of that. And all the expectations are now going to be on the Indian contingent. What is the advice you would give?
Well, I think it is going to be the time of their life. This is what they work for. This is what they live for. And I think it is time to just find reassurance in the hard work that they've put in, not just in the last couple of months, but in the many years preceding this moment, and find pride in that, and just try and go out there and do their very best, try and stay really in the moment, because I think one of the greatest challenges of competing at the Olympic Games is that either we're looking at what may lie ahead, or we're living really in the past, and we forget to live in the present, which is the now. So that would be my simple advice to them. I can tell you it's a difficult advice to actually implement, but that is what I would tell them to do. Just stay in the moment, and outcomes will be a byproduct of that. So rather than being outcome driven at this point of time, really be process driven in terms of executing your plan and your skill that tried to perfect over the last many years. We all know what outcomes they want. They all know themselves what outcomes they're after. And they certainly are young and youthful and don't need a reminder at this stage.
So the heavier shoulders, of course, are going to be that of Neeraj Chopra. You said somewhere that in sport, yesterday never counts. What would you tell him? You've been there.
I think no one truly defends the medal. These are things that are nicely written on. Nobody gets a head start for winning in previous Olympics. He doesn't get an extra 5 meters just because he's defending champion. Everybody on a particular day starts with it. And I think it is that understanding of sport and that understanding which will actually help him release a little bit of pressure which comes with these extra expectations of being defending champion. While it is a nice term, but in practical terms, you have to still do it just the way you do it every time. And it's about going out there, living in the moment, immersing yourself in the process, one step at a time, one moment after the other, one throw at a time, and that is how he has managed to really be consistent over the last 4 years, and that would be my advice to him. A Neeraj Chopra of Tokyo will be any different from a Neeraj Chopra of Paris. He's 4 years older. His world around him has changed. His body has changed. His mind has changed. His world perception of the world would have changed. So just to also have the self-awareness to change is the only constant in life, and to keep adapting to it, which I think, at least from somebody observing from the outside, he's managed to have that self-awareness to continuously adapt. I went to 5 Olympic Games, and I can tell you very clearly that each one I was a different person. My motivations were different, my strategies were different, I was different, my mind was different. Sometimes one makes the error of trying to repeat something what has happened in the past and what has happened well in the past, but by simply doing the same thing, maybe is sometimes an error. So just continuously adapt to the changing circumstances.
The other similarity between the two of you is that both of you all played a non-team sport, an individual sport. Which is pretty lonely, isn't it, when you're training and when you're in that position? How is it different from being a team member when you are at this level?
While we compete in individual sports, we do have a team around us. Neeraj has a large entourage around him. I had a very large entourage around myself. Going into Beijing, I was working with 9 different support staff, which included 2 sets of coaches. So for me, it was really about handling my team. I had to almost become the team leader of sorts in this very individual pursuit. And it was interesting because, at least for me, and I can only talk about myself, is that managing this team was difficult. It was about managing 9 different egos. It was managing different points of views. I decided to work with 2 different coaches at the same time because I thought that both brought something to the table. But it is well documented, at least with the 2 coaches never got along, and with 1 coach, even I didn't get along, and I actually kind of hated him. But I decided to work with him because he brought in a very different perspective, which I valued. Maybe 95% of the things that he tried to tell me didn't stick. The 5 things that did stick and I did follow became the most valuable lessons and valuable pieces of advice, which really helped me compete well and become a better competitor. So for me, being in an individual sport, for me, it was really about managing my team. It was about managing different people. It was about managing different mindsets. I think that is probably the most valuable experience I had during my sports career, which helps me in real life, by the way.
I was going to say, big exposure to come out into the world, isn't it?
Sport is a great teacher, and I think, and as I clearly said, that I had conflict, and I had, of course, a lot of internal conflict, but I had external conflict as well with individuals, and it was learning about conflict management, not always reacting in the first moment, but just trying to listen and then try and make an opinion of sorts, which I think is very valuable in life.
So, you're speaking about mindset, and you've also spoken somewhere that treat athletes like humans, not robots. Mental health talk. Is that, gaining momentum in the world of sport?
Of course, part and parcel of the International Olympic Committee's mental health initiative since its inception in 2018 as part of the Athletes Commission of the IOC. I have been the kind of the athlete representative involved in all of that work since its inception. And of course, there has been a big misconception around the world that athletes are kind of immune to any kind of mental health issues or mental health disorders because we are supposed to be mentally very strong, etc., etc. But to be honest, before athletes, we're human beings, and that is sometimes forgotten. We're as vulnerable as anybody else, perhaps even more vulnerable. Athletes may be more vulnerable than people from other streams of life. We have to deal with constant success and constant failure, just the load of training, improper recovery at times, constant travel, dealing with injuries, an impending end of the career, external expectation, conflicts that I talked about, a transition out of sport is always very difficult. So an athlete's journey has many red flags which could potentially lead to mental health issues, symptoms, or disorders. And frankly, a lot of work has happened in the course of the last few years to destigmatize the whole issue. And I think the COVID pandemic destigmatized mental health to a great degree in society because naysayers of mental health issues suddenly had mental health issues for themselves. So there's a greater sensitivity to that. For the first time, the Olympic Village in Paris will have a mind zone. It is really a decompression zone for athletes to just go and mentally unbind. We have a mentally fit hotline available for athletes 24/7, more than 70 languages, I believe, which will not just be active during the course of the games, but during the whole Olympic cycle, 4 years after the games. Basically, when you are physically you have an issue, you are assessed. So for mental health issues, there was never an assessment or recognition. Now for mental health, there is a validated both assessment and a recognition, which can be used by the larger entourage of the athlete. That has been prepared and has been in use. So many ecosystems around the world now actually do screening. So there's a lot of work which is also shifting towards prevention of mental health issues, which I think is even more important. So all in all, a great amount of effort to sport, and at least in the Olympic movement.
Any of this filters into Indian sport?
I've tried hard through my foundation. We have a full vertical which deals with mental health. We try and bring all these resources which are available across the world globally to the Indian ecosystem. We have a full program specifically for mental wellness of athletes, which is not just performance driven, but also from a mental health perspective. We have many athletes that we offer those services to who are under our scholarship program. So on a personal level, yes, I am doing that, and I think at an institutional level as well, we do see that there is more emphasis on mental health in various federation programs, the PSI programs, etc., at the camps. Psychologists are there from a health perspective. Of course, it is only at the elite level, I would say, at the moment, and that has to really filter down at a more mass level. It is a start, and I'm sure over a period of time, as our systems mature more and progress more and become stronger.
I was going to ask you about the Abhinav Bindra Foundation. What is the scope? You are working with school children as well in a couple of states, or is it more than that?
Our work in the foundation is built on 3 pillars. The first pillar is that of intervention, where one of our first projects is our scholarship program, which is called STEAM. We incorporate science, technology, engineering, and analytics and medicine into athlete training, athletes in different disciplines. We have about 250 odd athletes in our scholarship program, mostly very young athletes between the ages of 12 and 16. That is our focus area. Of course, we have certain athletes older, but that is our focus area to really empower athletes at a grassroots level. We have a program called Sport for Her. It is a program dedicated to the female athlete to empower them to, of course, foster participation in sport, but more importantly, give them all the resources needed for them to be the best that they can. We have a program called Sport for Life under intervention, where we offer 100 free surgeries to athletes every year who get injured. And these are grassroots level athletes, elite athletes, the Neeraj Chopras, and all the best athletes in the country are very well taken care of under institutional programs. Athletes at the grassroots level who also have injuries have nowhere to go. So last year we did close to 90 surgeries. Perhaps the most important and joyful work is using the power of sport for social good. We had a program in Tokyo where we supported refugee athletes. Former competitor of mine and a good friend now, Nicolo Campriani, 3-time Olympic champion, where we supported 3 refugees who became athletes. 2 of them actually competed in Tokyo. One of them or 2 of them will also compete in Paris. But our current program is about bringing an IOC program into India, which is the Olympic Values Education Program. This is an experiential learning program where kids get to play sport, experience sport, to become physically active, to become healthier citizens, but most importantly, build character through sports. Imbibe values through sport. Sport has been my greatest teacher in life, as I told you earlier on. It taught me how to win, but more importantly, it taught me how to lose. It taught values of respect, excellence. It built relationships, built many friendships. It teaches you teamwork, work ethic, integrity, and I think something that our society and young kids need. Our current program is active in 2 states, in the state of Assam as well as Odisha. Currently, as of today, we are in about 12,000 odd schools, over 1 million kids actively in the program as of today. The year in Odisha, we are scaling up to statewide integration, so about 60,000 schools in the course of the year will start to get integrated into, and this program will be integrated into their curriculum. So all in all, I think it's a fantastic program which builds a culture for sport. It builds a healthier society.
You've spoken about the grassroots, we've spoken about mental health. There's also the physical well-being. When you see athletes like your elite wrestlers who are out there protesting about sexual abuse, and the fact that a lot of families are looking at those incidents because they have to decide whether they're going to allow their girls into the system. What will it take for us to clean up that system?
I think safeguarding athletes' well-being in totality, mental and physical, I think is critical. It is something that the world of sport is looking at certainly more carefully. And the IOC has started a new safeguarding initiative where they're investing $10 million into a safeguarding initiative, and part of that, of the safeguarding working group as well, which is led by Prince Faisal of Jordan. Specifically from an India perspective, I think it is about education. It is about creating an ecosystem which presents a safe environment, both mentally and physically, for athletes to compete. And we have to build structures, both from a prevention point of view, but also structures where in an event where something does happen, there is a clear mechanism in play, then provides recourse to the victim. Most importantly, it has to be a victim-centric approach which has to be taken. I think that is the critical thing from a safeguarding point of view. And I do hope that as soon as possible that we are able to build a robust mechanism in Indian sport as well, which just doesn't replicate it at grassroots levels. So we have had the whole unfortunate case with our wrestlers, and it is about learning from them. We are an evolving ecosystem. We're not perfect. Sport in India is still developing. We don't have everything as of today, but we are working well, and we've made great strides in the last many years. And this is something that we must give priority towards and focus on as we move forward.
There's much talk about, India looking to host the Olympics. What are your thoughts on that? What would it take?
Well, I think it starts with a vision. And I think it is about, the Olympics is not just a sports event, which is much more than that. Hosting an Olympic Games the games have to be a catalyst of change. we can make our nation healthier, how we can make our nation more inclusive, help the economy in many ways, how it can help small businesses, how it can help the region, how the Olympics can be a catalyst for the environment, for example. I think it has to be a larger vision that we have to put together and answer the question, why do we want to host? Hosting the Olympic Games would be a fantastic moment for the country to showcase ourselves on a global stage, a coming of age of sorts. We have to create a vision, we have to create a plan which creates a legacy before the Games. We have to create a plan which creates a legacy during the Games, and we have to create a plan which ensures the legacy much after the game. If you're able to do that, I think we stand a good chance, and I think we must all, or everybody involved must put their heads together in actually creating this vision, which I talked about, which transcends the Games itself. The Games must act as a catalyst for further development in many areas.
So what is keeping Abhinav Bindra busy these days?
My
the foundation.
Yeah. And of course, that takes, I would say, 50-60% of my time. Then earning a living, that again takes at least 50% of my time. I should be giving it more, but I find meaning in different things. Of course, I have roles with the International Olympic Committee, which I give quite a lot of time to and energy to. It brings me great meaning, and there's a lot of great work that has happened.
You spoke about how a journey is not just about achieving, it's also about the connections. What are these connections that still hang on with you after, you've retired from sport?
When I look back at my sports career, and it was a long one, 22 years, I don't look back at those few medals that I won, which simply hang on a wall in my house. I look back at those 22 years, at the relationships that I was able to build through these 22 years. And I start with my relationships with my mum, with my dad, with my sister, where sport was the medium to get closer to them. This was just not my journey, it was their journey as well. So a wonderful relationship with family, relationship with coaches. As I told you, I had two sets of coaches. There was one set of coaches who I loved, who were part of family from day one. But then there was one coach who I really hated, Coach Uwe. But I have a wonderful relationship with the man now. We talk almost on a day-to-day basis now. We don't talk anything about sport, but he gives me advice on the stock market. We still don't agree on everything, but we found a way to respect each other's differences. We respect each other's opinions. I built great connections with my support staff, some of them who I work closely with even to the day. I built great relationships with competitors. We talked about Nicolo Campriani, who happens to be one of my very, very close friends, somebody who I greatly respected as an athlete, but respect him even more for the person he is. At the end of it, it is the human connections, the relationships that you build, which will last for your lifetime. Those are the memories which you really, really cherish. Of course, the outcome was wonderful. Winning a gold medal, standing on top of the Olympic podium, hearing your national anthem was the thrill of my life. But it was not the only thing. And that was an outcome of a long journey. And it is the journey a journey of success, a journey of failure, mainly failure to be honest, that I look back with a great amount of pride. I cherish the memories and I cherish the relationships that I built during my sports career, which hopefully will last for my lifetime.
Abhinav Bindra, always a pleasure to speak with you and listen to you. Thank you so much. And of course, you have those beautiful dogs. How many of them?
5.
So jealous. They're gorgeous.
My little niece and my niece is my favorite person in the world. We're looking for number 6.
I'm not even going to show this to my children. They're like, can we get the one? Can we get the one? So we are stuck there right now. But always lovely to chat with you. Thanks so much, Abhinav, for doing this.
Thank you very much. All the best. Enjoy the games.